Excuse me?
I can do it.
Okay.
Moving on, Michael Richter Street Extension.
This I have on here because if you recall, when we first were talking about the Commonwealth property, the cottages on Main, part of that incentive package we had talked about was that we would construct Michael Richter. Commonwealth is coming to meet with us next week. That is moving forward, so I just wanted to get this up in the open and in front of us again. If you recall a while ago when we were talking about this, we had run some scenarios for potential assessment, all of the properties within, what's the name? Oh, I'm drawing a blank on the subdivision.
Parker Heights.
Thank you, Parker Heights. It's all documented in their recording of that plat that the village reserves the right for special assessment. So I'm not asking for any kind of motion here. I'm just bringing it back up in the open again, because we will be moving, we are working with Commonwealth, and this will be coming forward, and really we need to start talking about the construction of it and the assessments for it.
There was, I recall, and I think you were there, and you were there probably too, Al, years and years ago when we were talking about another project over there. There was quite a bit of, maybe quite a bit is the wrong word, but there were a number of people that were against the Michael Richter.
The rezone.
Well, they didn't want the street.
They didn't want the street.
They didn't want the street.
Oh, yeah, well, that was just,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, there were, I don't want to say a lot, but there were a handful. Well, there were a lot of people that didn't like it, but there were a lot of people that didn't, I shouldn't say a lot, but there were a good number of people that were against Michael Richter. And the reasoning was, and quite honestly, the reasoning was, when we bought that property, we thought we were in a dead end. Well, the answer is, you don't own it. It's, if you want it to be a dead end and you wanted to buy it, if it was your property, that would be one thing. But it's always been on our maps as going through.
And actually, we have a historical trail of all the time saying that we fully intend to construct it. So I know it's not going to be popular.
We're going to get pushback on it.
Yep.
I'm just telling everybody right now, we're going to get pushback.
Well, and that's too why I wanted to bring this up now again, because it has been a while since we talked about it. But now Commonwealth, we've been waiting for them to get their tax credits and everything to go and get into place, and now it's there. So now they're looking at construction of these apartment complexes in the spring. So as I said, we're meeting with them next week or the week after. So now that everything is finally in place with the tax credits, it's going to be moving. So I just wanted to get it up in front of you guys again, so that you're aware. And I did pass around, this is just a very, very preliminary. This is based on some assumptions, taking an estimate of what Carl put together as the estimated cost of the project. And then actually between this meeting and the last one I ran, and Carl and I had talked about a little bit of taking $50,000 from the reserve fund from the water utility to go towards it. And then I looked at what the assessment would be based on the different lots. So this is just very preliminary, as I said, based on a bunch of assumptions. And basically what I was kind of looking for was to hit this public cost, the far right column, at a 0. That meant that 100% of it is assessed minus the $50,000 that we just kind of, again, an assumption we put in there. So I just did this just to give you guys an idea, but I can't stress enough that it's preliminary, and we just wanted to have some idea. That's all.
Any other questions or comments on this? Hearing none, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion?
I'd like to schedule a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to bring the questions, comments that were made at the public hearing back to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
After the first of the year, before Christmas.
Well, we've got one of our members here after the first of the year or December. Typically we do the second Tuesday of the month, I believe it was. It's been 5 months since we've had a meeting because I haven't had any requests for rezones or CUPs. Well, let's tentatively do
the first Tuesday.
I lost track. Okay, first Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too soon. That'd be pretty hard to get everything together and out the door on that. So let's say the first
First
in
Tuesday in January is the second.
The first Tuesday, for one in January, sorry.
Yeah,
First Tuesday, yeah, that's the second, that's probably not going.
yeah, that is gonna work.
We'll try to shoot
call
for a
members.
January meeting, and we'll contact the Planning and Zoning Commission members and see if we can get it a different day than our normal first Tuesday. But let's shoot for January. December's kind of tough right now.
How about piggybacking onto the village board meeting, or before the village board meeting on the 4th? As I said,
Yeah, it depends on
We already
the,
have a committee of the whole on the 4th.
I don't know
UW
offhand.
extension is coming in.
oh,
Yeah, I think extension is coming in, but if memory serves me right, the commission could make Thursdays, but we'll work on it. We'll poll the commission members and see when we can get a meeting together.
He's gonna have to look.
Any other topics for future discussion?
Department head reviews?
We'll have that on. Any other topics for future discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to report of village officers, administrator, cottages on Main.
We're meeting with them next Tuesday, next week after. Yeah, they've got some preliminary designs. Back in February of this year, we had talked about some development incentives, and at that time, the board had authorized me to write the letter committing to the developer incentives. The next steps in this will be that we'll have to put that in written form and bring it back to the board for official approval. The other ones was just to have me keep moving with it. I have been consulting all along the way on this with Ellers for the financial part of it. And the only part I just want to stress too, to make sure everybody's clear on it, is that this is not an economic development project. This is a housing project. So this isn't going to make the village a bunch of money in assessment. We are giving, our proposal is going to be returning a lot to them. So I just want to stress that. And I'll be bringing that project with the developer incentives official forms back to the board at a later date. So again, just getting it on your radar. Legislative listening sessions. Representative Steineke has several town hall meetings coming up on November 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, and December 1st. The one on the 30th is in Ellington, and I think it would be very wise of the village to have some representation there, because I'm sure you guys know that Steineke has been the one that is the most vocal in opposition to Highway 15 bypass. So I intend on going, but I think it would be good to try to encourage as many as possible to ask him where he stands on it, and let him know where we stand on it.
What time is it?
It's from 5 to 7 p.m. And the November 30th one is in Ellington.
At the town hall?
Yes. There's some others in Vandenbroek. Another one on December 1st, it's in Howard. Howard is where the infamous meeting took place. So that's that one. Personal file management. If you recall, quite a while ago, we had talked about the keeping of personnel files, because there's who has them, and having an official one, and this came up when we had some records requests and different things like that, and we talked about having an official policy on that. And this relates actually to my master's program. I had told you guys that I'm going for my master's in public administration. So right now we had to identify a project for our final grade this semester in human resource management. So I'm working on now putting together a draft policy for the village of Hortonville related to the content organization, retention, and security of personnel files. So my assignment is actually due in December, so I plan on having a draft here at the next meeting. So it was a way to most of it's done on my own time, but there's some that's gonna have to be done here, but it's for the village of Hortonville, so that's the way to keep pushing it along, so, and I'll have the oversight of my professor on it. So, getting that moving forward. And then some things that I didn't put on here that came up since, the ADRC has announced today that the opening of the senior meal site will be November 20th for delivery out of the Opera House, and November 27th will be the first congregate meal site date. All of that information is also on our Facebook. And regarding the chief position is the police commission had me reposted. I emailed all you guys that. I wanted to get that emailed out to you because I had to, because of the time frame they gave me, I needed to get it posted before tonight. So it's already been posted, but I just wanted to get that email out to all you guys so that you weren't reading it first. So the deadline on that is December 1st for applications to be received, and they are meeting on December 12th to review them. So that's all I have.
I just want to bring up one comment, and I want Attorney Sorensen's opinion on this. The work you're going to do for your master's, you said part of the time would be on your own and part of the time would be on staff business. Do you see a conflict there for her personal gain?
And if I can say, the thing is, I need to interview employees that work with it.
Well, yeah.
I'm concerned for her. I just don't want her to get into some kind of a scrape or something here where somebody said, hey, she's working on village time, being paid by the village to do this work, but it's going to benefit her and her master's. So, you know, there's kind of a crossover there that I'm a little concerned about.
I would see it
Well,
hourly, but not salary.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it from, I guess, a compensation or a pay for time issue. I mean, if you're here doing schoolwork and get paid by the village, that would be an issue. I would
Right.
expect that this would be probably additional time that's. But otherwise, I don't see any conflict. I think you can, you should be able to do both and do justice to both.
Okay.
I think it just comes down to,
And if I could clarify something too, is the work on the policy and the project is I'm doing on my
For the
own.
village.
No, I'm doing that on my own time, but the part that I need to actually see what we currently do, what our current system is, and that's the part that I have to do physically here and also communicate with our payroll clerk and Lynn to get a basis for where we are. So that's the part that I didn't see a way around it.
yeah. And the filing system, it's a system analysis, right? So there's
Right.
no confidentiality or anything like that.
So you see it as mutually beneficial, but
I think so.
Yeah,
You know,
but
I mean, you
not-
can develop a factual situation where you have
Okay.
a conflict, but I would hope that that's not the case.
okay. Needed your opinion.
And
Good
that's
luck.
why I wanted to
Thank you.
make sure to bring it here too, so that it was very transparent that you knew it was for, I was doing it for class as well.
Any other comments or questions for Diane? Hearing none, we'll move on to clerk treasurer.
Okay, one thing that we have is we did have a MOU with Allegheny County for WISVOTE services wherein they were setting up our ballots and putting in our election day voter registrations and recording all of our election day voter participation. They have decided that since they are taking on all the programming in-house for doing all of the ballots and other work for the elections, that they will not have any time for this anymore. So they have given us notice that they are terminating that MOU with us. That is not the same as the one that we were dealing with tonight for the election machines. That means that we will be taking on the extra work of setting up our own elections. As far as setting up our own ballots, it means recording the people who are running for the different offices and how they're going to be recorded on the ballots. And then putting in our own election day registrations and voter participation. The second portion of what I have down here, the e-poll books for elections. The state has been working on developing e-poll books, which is essentially a computer at the poll list table where you sign in to vote. And they would have no connection to the internet during the election day. They would be able to communicate with another like unit within the election room, but there would be no access or availability for hacking there. It would allow us to register voters so that they would be able to be uploaded to the system later by transferring information to our own computers. And that would take care of us having to go in and take staff time in order to put the election day registrations on, because people would be coming in to sign in to vote on these e-poll books. It also takes care of having to register voter participation on election day, having to put in all those so-and-so voted on election day, not what they voted, but just simply that they did participate in the election. So with the termination of the contract and the possibility of extra work coming on our staff, joining on with the poll books, which is also in our current budget, I should say 2018 budget, takes away a good bit of those hours so that it works out to be a win-win situation with both of them. And not having to pay out as much money to Outagamie County for the contract, applying that to the purchase of the poll books. And then by having the poll books, being able to slim down the amount of time that our staff would have to spend on election day duties.
Any questions for Lynn?
That's what I was just gonna say.
Hearing none, we'll move on to Director of Public Works.
I just have a few. Utility projects for the year are wrapped up. Just getting the final quantity numbers in. I project they'll come in at or just slightly below the bids that were open for those two projects. Like I said, we're looking at next year's projects already, trying to get an earlier start on them. Now that we have a confident number in our system improvement fund projections. The MSID grant, that's a municipal street improvement program discretionary grant. We made it through the county highway committee, so that grant's now been sent down to Madison. Hopefully we have some good luck. This grant is for Grandview, the upgraded Grandview road, so hopefully we have some good luck there. That'll be nice. Just a couple of notes. The Legion is purchasing a new microwave for the Opera House for general use. It'll be out for everybody to use. And we're having a CPR AED training class in here on December 12th, and we have a couple openings. Free of charge. We have to pay a base rate, but we're looking for some bodies to fill out the rest of the class. So again, that's December 12th, if anybody can make it. It's CPR, AED, first aid, a 3-hour class.
There's one from 9 to noon and one from 1 to
12:30 to 3:30.
12:30 to 3:30.
Yeah. So if anybody can make it, we'd sure like you to be there. Retired people like that.
And let us know in advance, please, because we're, like Carl said, there's a base rate of, we have to pay for at least 10 people for each of the classes. So we want to, if we get more than that, then it's additional, but we want to, as long as we have to pay for 10, we want to fill them with 10.
We're trying to get some crossing guards to come, some other part-time help as well, but we still need at least 5 more people to fill out the classes. So if anybody has the time and they can make it, we appreciate it. So, that's all I have.
Any questions for Carl? Hearing none, we'll move on to Brian.
I have nothing.
Bob?
I'll second that.
Building permit report is in your packet. Any questions or comments on that? Not, we'll move on to presentation of accounts.
The voucher list consists of deposit of payroll contributions, automatic payments on loans, and vouchers number 24169 through 24226 in the amount of $54,253.91. Direct deposit payroll in the amount of $25,870.26. Water and sewer utility vouchers number 10199 through 10210 in the amount of $48,367.25.
I would make a motion to approve.
And a second?
Roll call.
Aye.
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 Approved. Move on to communication and miscellaneous business. Gold Cross Ambulance Run report and news is in your packet. Any comment on that? Comments and suggestions from citizens? Nothing? Then we've got one more item.
You make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Say aye.
I seen you looking at it.
Opposed?
Hey,
Abstained?
Kelly, if you run.
Does the,
Lynn, do you want these back?
If you could return the budget binders, the dividers and the colored paper to me, I really appreciate it. You don't have to absolutely do it tonight, but I would like you back,
Some
please.
card in there, and we need call, and we call them back, I don't know, probably all, I can take care of it now.
Wait, there's 30
How many drop putting in their yard, you know what I mean? If you can take care of it, that's fine.
I think,
I don't want to find this.
But I did it here too.
you got it.
Yeah.
Or Robin's
For a while.
It's getting-
I would have for a while.
You never asked for this. Maybe we could take
My
those in.
parents bought it.
Okay, I'll go.
Al, will you be coming in tomorrow?
All right, yeah,
Will you be coming in tomorrow?
I don't know if they could talk to me at all.
I wish everybody
We still
a happy
have-
Totally
Thanksgiving.
unaware.
A land contract on there that went to us again.
Try to be safe if you're hungry, be safe.
I didn't offer that up.
He wasn't
The
the
crossing.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Oh, why don't you do that? No, but no one
If you're drinking, stay home.
friend. Yeah. Glitter.
Come on.
Yeah, it was-
Yeah, none of the
And so then-
librarians.
Yeah.
Don't
Time, none of us were.
They're-
And so, yeah, it was the picnic.
One
Yeah.
side of the ship.
If the weather on Saturday is
I'm so glad I'm babysitting instead of mine.
Yeah, so I shut it off.
All right.
Here.